Welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things Warhammer from the past week and have some general good fun hobby chat. This week there's good and sad news around Age of Sigmar 4th edition as we lose a lot of models, but we also get some awesome looking new ones. We also look at the current state of competitive play in Age of Sigmar and give some tips to newcomers. And of course, we will end the show with our usual Warhammer 20 questions. I am one of your hosts, wargamingluke, but as always, I am joined by Ben, aka 90% Geek. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good.
Doing much better than I was last week, as anyone who tuned into last week's and heard my tale of woe, or tuned into my most recent video and heard the saga.
Skaven.
Yes! And not the funky new Age of Sigmar models.
Yeah, Ben had rat problems, Mike.
I did have
in real life.
Small rat issue.
We're joined, of course, by Simon, aka Hobby Waffle. How are we doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Waking up for this week. For everybody who doesn't realise, we record these late night on a Monday, so sometimes it's a push, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
If you can hear it, if you can hear the rain over my microphone, by the way, I apologise, but it is absolutely throwing it down here for anyone listening.
I haven't noticed it.
I live in the northwest, so
it's raining in the Greater Manchester area. You shock me.
I know, crazy.
And of course, we have a special guest this week joining us. It's not just the three of us this week. We have my old friend, actually, Michael. How are we doing?
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm excited for this reunion and actually excited to just chat about Sigmar. I don't get to do that often enough.
That's true,
yeah, glad to be here.
I imagine so. I should have said
there's not really much happening in Age of Sigmar at the minute.
No, we've got 5 minutes to cover.
I should have said Michael, from Vanguard Tactics as well, just so everybody actually knows. If they don't already know where you're from, my friend, we'll know where you're from now. We'll chat a bit more about what you do with that later on as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. But Mike, we do always ask every one of our new guests a bit of a question, just to warm you up, if you like. If you could only pick one kit or box to take with you on a deserted island, what would it be?
So I reckon probably the classic endless spells box with all the different endless spells in it. Because I reckon you could come up with your own little game, give each of them different rules, and you could have hours of fun. And if not that, you'd have 12 different friends on that little island.
Yeah.
So that's my one. I'm going for that.
I'm imagining it a little bit like Wilson the volleyball. You're there having with the jaws of what are they called?
Gnashing jaws of Ravenak.
Yeah, just like chatting to them like that.
And then the purple sun comes in.
Yeah. Ooh, what are you doing?
I love it. That's one of the best ones we've had so far, to be fair. I do like that. Just purely for the reasoning, Mike. I love it.
Yeah, if I could get some googly eyes as well, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. We'll allow that. We'll allow that.
Under hobbying supplies, surely.
Yes, with your hobbying supplies, yeah. With your glue and clippers and whatnot. Okay, so just for a bit of housekeeping before we get into a little bit of the hobbying that we've been doing in the past week. As always, guys, you can join us here on YouTube with visuals and audio. Make sure, of course, that you are subscribed to us here. Throw likes on the video and comment down below, whatnot. I don't think we've actually had people actually join in before on what Mike's just done with his deserted island thing. So maybe let us know what you guys would choose to take away if you were being stranded. That'd be pretty cool to know. But otherwise, obviously, we're over on Spotify as well. If you just want pure audio, guys, if you're in the gym, whatever you're doing, where you want to sneak in the podcast, audio only, then go over there and check us out as well. Give us a follow, and also go onto our Discord channel. I haven't given it a shout out actually the last couple of weeks. Join us over there. I know Mike's just dropped in there as well, along with all of our other guests that we've had so far. Me, Si, and Ben will be over there as always. We're getting some really good chat over there now. It's really building up pretty well. So please do join us over there as well, guys. Links for everything will be down in the comments section below. But let's get into, I guess, what hobbying we've been up to over the last sort of week or so. Who would sort of like to go first? Always like to let people choose if you've been up to anything at all.
I think guests should go first.
You sure, Mike? You up for this?
Yeah.
What have you been up to? It can include games as well. Although I know on Vanguard, I don't know how much you tend to be doing on there nowadays. So.
So obviously, with the small announcements about Age of Sigmar happening, I've been on the hype train for getting ready for that, and I've started painting my Cities of Sigmar. Awesome. I've recently finished a Cavalier unit, and my god, the details on that unit. There's so much going on, but it's beautiful, and they look amazing, and I'm looking forward to carrying that on, getting some more painted. I've got my Marshall on the table at the moment. Awesome. Fantastic miniature range.
Nice. So let's get you ready. They are
really nice. They scare me.
I have actually seen pictures of it, but to be fair, if you want to go and follow Mike over on Instagram, I'm sure he'll give them the tag at the end of the podcast, but some gorgeous miniatures that he paints, so do go and check him out. But it's good to know. Any games for you recently there, Mike? You've been getting any games with them?
So I was fortunate enough to recently preview the new Tau Codex that was released for Warhammer 40k, and I ran my childhood dream of 20 deep striking battle suits. And it was like nice. Half the army started in deep strike, and it was so cool. I absolutely loved it, and awesome. I'm all for that kind of finding that kind of thing in the game wherever it may be. But that was awesome.
So anybody, I mean, we'll bring it up a bit later on, but me and one of the first ever games that or tournaments that me and Mike joined in to was a doubles tournament, and it was Tau Space Wolves team up. So I always remember Mike for his Tau. So it's good to know that you're still loving the Tau, mate. Somebody's got to. All right, Ben, should we go with you next, buddy? What have you been up to?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you can see, I am actively engaged in some hobbying at the moment. I am in the process. Got to get my hobby time in. It's busy life. I'm in the process of building some War Games Atlantic Landsnecked Ogres. They're lovely, lovely kits. These are to go with my kind of 5th edition Empire army, but it'll equally double for the Old World Empire, thanks to the Arcane Journal they brought out for Orcs. You can now take mercenary ogres in basically any army, which I immediately sat down and wrote an Empire list for the Old World with a nice big unit of mercenary ogres in it. So yeah, I'm going to put these together while we're doing this. Beyond that, I am somewhat ashamed to say that I have been painting an Elgie. And Si might get what I'm referencing here. I don't know if anybody else will. A beard shaver. A pointy-eared one. I had a sudden craving come upon me to paint a high elf.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone who remembers the Tears of Isha campaign pack from back in 5th edition, the cover of that is this glorious color scheme with like blued scale armor and then gold plate. And I kept looking at it on the cover of the White Dwarf and going, I wonder how that would look on a model. So I indulged myself today and painted up a Swordmaster, classic metal Swordmaster from back in the day, up in this color scheme. I'll throw you a picture, Luke, that you can always then put up on the video and post out.
Yeah, please do.
But also I'll put it up on my Twitter and over on the Discord. So anybody wants to go and see that. But yeah, I'm ashamed to say it, as a long-time dwarf player, I've painted an elf and I feel dirty.
Welcome to society.
The shame, the crippling shame. So to move the shame away from me, let's move on to Si quickly, and I'll go back to painting ogres, which is equally something dwarves don't really approve of.
Hobby-wise, so following on from what I was talking about in last week's podcast, actually, I've actually been working on some. I'm going to get it into shot. Caradon Overlords. I've still got the old Start Collecting box. So that's going to be, I think, probably my main army for 4th edition. And in true Blue Peter fashion is one I've prepared earlier. Not quite painted yet, but Thundrix Profiteers I've got there. And then I've got the Start Collecting box. I might pick up the Vanguard or the Spearhead box because that's got the Ironclad in it, I think, as well. Not the Ironclad, it's an Arcanaut frigate and an Arcanaut company. So I might pick that up to go with this Start Collecting box. And it's kind of a nice core then for an army, and then just pick up a few bits here and there. That's pretty much it. Hobby wise, I did a little bit more Legions Imperialis stuff, no gaming, but yeah, it's mainly just been focusing on the Age of Sigmar news. I was halfway through editing. You remember I said I was going to do a video, Will Chaos Dwarfs come back to Age of Sigmar? I was halfway through editing it, and then obviously the bombshell dropped about the range cull, and
You always seem to do your video site bang on.
Yeah,
when
I've got a
the
knack for
big
making a
news
video,
drops in
and
the
I'm in the
week.
middle of
It's just-
editing and in Games Workshop, get the rug and just go straight from under my feet. So I changed the video completely. I still got the Chaos Dwarves bit in there, but I kind of expanded it onto the rest of it. So that was an interesting weekend trying to get that right. But yeah, I'm trying to see the positives in it all. At the end of the day, old models out, new models in. So, it's good in the long run. It's just rubbish for people who've got an army of Stormcast from Soul Wars and then built upon that Sacrosanct Chamber or whatever.
Are you planning the Caradron then to be your kind of army going into 4th?
Well, I was until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I saw those rats.
Yeah, we'll chat about that in a bit, don't you worry.
Okay, Games Workshop, you win. I'll buy more shelves.
Yeah, literally. Cheers for that site, for your update. For myself then, for the past week, not much hobbying. I've been so busy with work, but I think probably just after the last podcast, I finished up touches on and posted pictures of me Old Blood on Carnosaur, so that's done. And now I'm only a few units away from finishing my 2,000 points of Seraphon, ready for the journey to the narrative campaign weekend in May for Warhammer World. So hopefully I'll still make that deadline by then. Other than that, I did though manage. I went on Friday night, half asleep to be honest, to a game in. Went to visit a friend's club in Lichfield, which he originally started as a mental health thing to help people out. So he introduced people to wargaming with the Roll for Mental Health scheme, and kind of introduced people to the hobby as a way to get over their mental health issues and just turn up somewhere each week to hobby and things. And I've helped him out with it for years via the channel and things with fundraising and different stuff like that. And I still hadn't had a chance to actually go visit the club, and I managed to last week, which was really cool. He used to appear on my old channel years and years ago doing battle reports with his Frostherd Beasts of Chaos warband and army. And so, ironically, I planned this game last week or the week before. I requested to play against his Frostherd, which is like a really gorgeous ice-themed Beasts of Chaos army. And ironically, the day before I came to play the game against his Beasts of Chaos, as we'll talk about later on, they've now gotten rid of the faction. So very sad. So it was kind of a bittersweet game, really, knowing that I probably wouldn't play against them again, because he certainly wasn't happy about it. But as I say, we'll talk about that later on. But a fun game, and it was good to go and visit the club. So shout out to Three Spires Gaming in Lichfield. If you're around that area, go check it out. But yeah, that's been my last week of hobbying. So I think that's it. Let's see if Ben's on the ball. Ben, what is it time for?
And now, the news.
There we go. All right, so news for this week. One main sort of news topic, and then we'll move on to sort of one of our own things that we want to discuss second half of the show. But, of course, we've had the news in this past week, I think it was Thursday last week maybe, that Games Workshop are scrapping a ton of models from the Age of Sigmar range, ready for 4th edition. Some of it will be relegated to Old World. We'll kind of talk about our thoughts more on that after we've sort of run through the list of things that and our thoughts on what's disappearing, I suppose you could say. So what I will do is throw that up for anybody with the visuals so you can have a look and see what's kind of leaving us. The first of
Might
which
need
is,
to shrink it to fit it in because there is so much stuff leaving the range.
Kits in total.
So we'll scroll down as we go, but Stormcast and Skaven, obviously we know we're getting the new box set for the beginning of 4th edition. So I think it was expected we were going to lose some the old Stormcast models and the old Skaven models, but not as much as what we've actually had.
I don't think
here.
anyone could have predicted that the entirety of the Sacrosanct Chamber was out the door and straight to the retirement home of Azir. Yeah, that was a surprise. There was a few in there that raised a few eyebrows, I must admit. But I mean, I did expect a lot of it to go, because I'm expecting a lot of new stuff to come in. Thunderstrike armor, we saw the trailer, didn't we? We knew Liberators would come in. Prosecutors, you can pretty much guarantee they'll be coming. But yeah, it was a big one. It was quite surprising.
Is it basically everything that isn't currently in Thunderstrike armor? Is that what's going?
Not everything. You've still got like the Night Quest and a few other little bits. here
I
and
like
there.
the Lord Celestant on the giant dragon. That's
You've got all the
isn't it?
dragon stuff, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or what I
But
call the Aragon
a
dragons.
lot of it, a lot of the
Yeah.
older stuff is going, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
basically.
So Aventus Firestrike's very strange to me, right? Because he's like Hammerhall Action's like warden dude that's in charge of the city.
That was one of the
and
biggest
that's-
surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the Skaven are now attacking, right? So it seems strange that he's being dropped from the
It's
range.
true, actually. Is that a hint
New
maybe
model
that
instead, maybe?
we're either getting a
I was
new
just going to
model
say,
or
unless
are
they're
they
planning
actually
on
going to
something
kill him off or
narrative
something? I don't know. Yeah, God knows.
But yeah, I mean, I assumed that a lot of this, like we know we're getting new liberators. I just assumed that this was not so much that these units, I mean, aside from the Sacrosanct Chamber, which we know are leaving, I assumed that it was muchly this models that are leaving rather than these units. So I'm assuming we'll still get new paladins, for example, just like we're getting new liberators and new prosecutors.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up as we go down this list, and I'll show it off in a moment, is we are obviously getting a lot of the core older models for Stormcast and Skaven. We're going to show the new clan rats after as well. Are getting new models. We've already had the new liberators and new clan rats now revealed, if you like. So here we have the new liberator in the new armor. Closer to what's the armor? What are the guys with the spears?
Vindictors.
Vindictors.
Yeah.
So very sleek armor compared to obviously the original.
Yeah,
liberators.
I love it. I'm a fan of Thunderstrike armor. I think it looks great.
There we go. So that's the comparison.
It really does look good, but that's not to say that the old ones look bad.
No, not at all.
I mean, out of the four of us here, it'd be interesting to know actually who kind of prefers the new models to the old one.
It varies.
I prefer the new ones. I mean,
You do.
Vindictors in Thunderstrike armor and the new Liberators, I prefer them to the older, very large shoulder plate models from first edition and second edition Age of Sigmar, so like your Chaos One and Soul Wars.
I kind of like the loincloth of the old one.
Yeah,
but the shield's very simple, isn't
more
it?
Terminator-esque, really, isn't it? Compared
too
to like
bulky. Yeah. I like the tabard loincloth thing, but otherwise the new ones I think look better.
Go on, Ben. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is just that. Again, it's going to fail me because I forget the name of all of the blooming Stormcasts now, the different types. But you had in one of the newest sets we had, there were the Terminator-sized Stormcast.
Annihilators
with the big shields, the round shields. Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if the reason they're shrinking everything else down slightly and putting them in the slimmer armor is to make them stand out a bit more. And have them as more like the type that your Terminators, if you like. I don't like to compare it to Space Marines, but
that's what they are. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's the theme they go with, isn't it? So I think it might make them stand out more on the battlefield. Personally,
having said that, the new Ruination Chamber elites, the three that we saw in the trailer, they're pretty bulky. You know, they're in some bulky armor, so they could fill a kind of Terminator role, if you like. But speaking of Space Marines, it kind of brings me on to a point about this. I know it's rubbish that all these are going, but I kind of understand it in a way because a lot of it's going to get redone in either like for like in Thunderstrike armor, or there'll be some new Ruination Chamber version of what's going out the door. So instead of being Sacrosanct, you'll have something that fills the same battlefield role, but from the Ruination Chamber. But they're the poster boys of Age of Sigmar, aren't they? And if you don't sort of make way with old, you know, because there's new stuff coming, you're just going to end up with massive range blow.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to end up with a battle tome that's ridiculously thick. Look at some of the Space Marine codexes that we've had with unit entries in. It's just massive books. And although they are the poster boys for Age of Sigmar, I bet you any money that the older Stormcast kits don't sell half as well as the older Space Marine kits.
Agreed.
But I do understand why they're doing it from a logistics and a business point of view, but at the other end of the scale, it does still suck for anyone who's got an army made up of all these miniatures. So it's a tricky one.
I think a lot of it you will still get to use because, like I said, like the Liberator is a Liberator. I'm intending to use my Liberators as Liberators, even if they're not wearing Thunderstrike armor. And what I was going to say about the older kits was the thing that I like about the older Liberator kits, for example, is the little details, like the little patrouilles, the leather tassels hanging down at the waist.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the loincloth as well, though I'm always a little confused as to why it's like a scale mail loincloth wrapped in cloth. I'm never quite sure how that's supposed to have worked. But on a painted model, it gives you a little bit more options in terms of adding like feature colors and spot colors. So my Stormcast chamber is basically the Ultramarines. I've decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool to try painting them in a Space Marines color scheme, because they do work quite well. One of the guys on our Discord is painting them up as
nice.
salamanders, and they look awesome. He's painting them with a color shift paint, and they look really cool with kind of green color shift armor. But so mine are blue with gold shoulder rims, but then I've got lots of little details like the red leather patrouilles hanging down at the waist, and that cream coloured tabard. On these new kits, they're just going to be blue with some gold shoulder rims. And that, I mean, it still looks okay, like the spear arm dudes, don't get me wrong, but having that variety of colour makes the models pop a little bit more. And I know what you're saying about the shields, that the old shields look quite bulky. I think they're very iconic, though.
Yeah.
I think that the big proper, shield shape, for want of a better word, that is like a proper tower shield, like a kite shield, looks better than the kind of smaller lenticular style shield that the new models come with. I feel like it's if they suddenly went, hey, we're going to do Space Marines, but they're not going to have rounded shoulder pads anymore. They're going to have hexagonal, modern combined armor style that actually deflects rounds rather than just immediately allowing something to penetrate them. Yes, it probably looks more realistic, but it's not about realism. It's about what looks cool. And a lot of these models that are leaving look really cool. Like the Lord Exorcist is one of my absolute all-time favorite models from the Stormcast range.
I mean, one of the things I was going to touch on, I was going to wait until we got the Beasts of Chaos part, really, and the fact the whole armies that we're going to be losing from Age of Sigmar, at least anyway, as to obviously the fact that there are some models on this post that aren't even really 2 years old, I believe.
Oh.
But Stormcast, some of these, I think Sacrosanct 5 years, something like that.
Yeah, Soul Wars, a lot of them, weren't they? Like Secretors, the Lord Arcanum on the Griff Charger. I think he's at the bottom, isn't it? But he's got a different name.
Yeah. And he's one of those.
The one in the middle there, Master of Sacrosanct. So that one was in the Soul Wars starter box, if I remember rightly.
That's right.
Yeah.
They only recently released him as a single model, like you could buy separately. Because I never bought one to go with my Sacrosanct. I didn't get.
That's right, and it was you got it in the Mortal Realms magazine as well. I think it was like issue 15 or something like that. You could actually get it in Mortal Realms, which I've still got somewhere, I think. But,
I never mentioned at the beginning, but it is important to bring up that they have said the majority of this stuff, if not all of it, will be available still in Legends rules packs. So they are going to keep
for a year
occasionally. No, I believe Legends, they've said they're still going to keep updated. It's, I think, wasn't it for competitive play?
That's
they said it's valid for a year until next
2025,
summer, I believe. But they said they will, like they do with all the other Legends stuff now, they'll update it maybe every other year or something daft, so you can still use your old models.
They said they were still going to do like points updates and stuff. For
and balance updates. That's right,
balance updates for Legends, which is strange because I've come from a 40k background, and like once something's in Legends, we just kind of accept the fact that it's basically dead to the game, and you just can't use it because it doesn't have relevant points or anything or keywords, since that's a big thing in 40k at the moment, and in Sigmar as well, by the sounds of it. So it's quite interesting to see that they are going to balance those units. And obviously, I think we probably all would strongly encourage people to keep using them if the rules are relatively update. But
yeah, I think the only problem is going to be competitive, isn't it? I mean, even though they've said you can use them competitively until 2025, what kind of enthusiasm are you going to have really when you know that the clock is ticking and they do have that terminal life, at least from a competitive standpoint?
Yeah.
But I mean, some people will, I'm sure, but there'll be others that's like, oh well, what's the point?
This is something I joked about on Twitter earlier, is that Games Workshop should have to start putting a best before date on their boxes now. When they release it, it's like, this will be good for the next 4.5 years, and then it's in the bin.
Hey, at least you got told you're getting a year.
That's true. That is true.
Well,
40k, it's like 3 months.
Over the period of this section, I'm sure there'll be a back and forth as to, there are positives and negatives about what's happened. We'll get to the part in a moment that's probably the worst part of this for certain players, but I mean, Skaven here, you've got a list of the Skaven stuff that's leaving.
There are some
gorgeous
models
expect.
Here.
There are some gorgeous
models here as well,
but you'd probably expect all of these here probably to get new, even nicer models.
Maybe.
Well,
so
something very similar to that Arch Warlock got leaked today, didn't it? There was a sprue and an assembled model that's been leaked. Clan rats we know about, rat swarms they've said are coming. A lot of it we predicted, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago?
So on screen we had revealed literally today, so it's perfect timing. We got the new clan rat sculpts as well.
They are very
These are
nice.
phenomenal.
And they are lovely. Yeah.
Insofar they're
wonder-
actually really hideous.
yeah, which is what they should be.
I do wonder if they're going to come in like 10s as a unit or 20s still. Because like if it's
True.
20s, that's a lot of detail to paint on 20 models in one
That's
unit.
interesting, actually. Yeah, it's a good point.
It's a good point, that. I think you might be right with the 10.
Yeah,
I
I love that
probably
banner.
so.
That banner's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what boxes that are relatively new do we actually have like 20 models in nowadays with that kind of
Not
level of
really
nothing
any,
really,
I
do
don't
we?
think.
No.
It doesn't really make sense from their perspective either, does it? Let's be honest, to sell them in bulk, I suppose.
I mean, Horus Heresy, I suppose.
Yeah,
Horus Heresy have come in through with 20-man boxes. You couldn't struggle to get 10-man boxes of Marines in Horus Heresy.
yeah. But I mean, yeah. So some really nice individual sculpts for the new clan rats. So pretty awesome stuff. But yeah, we'll.
I love that guy there with the sword extended behind him in the triangular shield. That's probably my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah.
Looks very Clan-eshin.
The triangle shields, isn't it, with Skaven? That's always like very, very
Iconic.
telltale Skaven. It is, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. But yeah, awesome stuff. I'll go back to the list because there is still plenty to go through and discuss. But
The Jezzails. So the
Yeah.
Jezzails and the Ogres were in the trailer.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yep.
yes,
So
Well, I think
they've got
we'll
to
be
get
seeing
new
those.
models. Yeah.
And then the rattling gun as well. We saw that wheeled version of the rattling gun, didn't we? That's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one that's been seen in the sprue's been seen. So that'll be another one that's coming as well.
because I mean, realistically, as I said, what on this list are we really probably not going to get new models for the Skaven that are going?
Rat swarms, I would guess.
Oh, no, I
Rat
think we'll get rat
in the trailer.
swarms.
Yeah,
Do you were they? Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll get rat swarms.
I would have thought we would.
Gutter runners probably
What
gone.
other armies have swarms, though? Thinking about Age of Sigmar,
Mm.
swarms are a leftover from the days of the old world. I mean, you can have
True.
literally just re-released the Snotling swarms for orcs this last weekend. What
Well, I
other
would
armies
say,
in
if you think of
Sigmar have swarms?
40k, you had Ripper swarms don't exist
You
now, do they?
do.
Properly for
They
can
do.
you actually have
Scarabs.
individual
They do.
models?
You
Oh,
do.
okay,
There are
fair enough.
swarms in 40k. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
40K,
Yeah, Scarabs.
not
Oh, I
Age
know,
of
I know, I
Sigmar.
know.
I don't think I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. I don't think any other army in Age of Sigmar has swarms.
No, you're probably right.
So I think rat swarms may go.
Mm.
I think that things like the specific definitions like Master Molder and Scryer Acolytes and stuff, they're going to lose those distinctions. The clans, as we knew them from the old world, are going to fade now that they're actually ditching the models.
Which is sad.
Do you think we'd lose
Yeah, I
gutter
think they
runners?
might have mentioned a clan in one of the recent articles, though.
Oh, okay.
Did they? Okay,
Uh,
maybe I'm wrong. The Gutter Runners, yeah, I get.
probably go.
yeah, I'm not so sure they'll keep them, but the warp blocks you'd think we'd still get back in some form.
What's interesting is if you just scroll back up to the top,
Yeah.
one thing I've just noticed that isn't there, the Night Runner kit, the plastic multi-part Night Runner kit that was part of Mordheim, that isn't on that list. Clan Rats are, the old Clan Rats kits are being replaced.
Oh yeah.
But the plastic multi-part Night Runners that you got as originally first released in Mordheim aren't. So I guess those are staying.
And Plague Monks too, actually. Because
Yes, that's true. Those
also
I wonder
very
if-
old, aren't they?
Yeah, so you're probably going to get Night Runners maybe in the new Battle Tome, but Gutter Runners disappear to Old World.
Yeah, maybe.
What
Yeah.
else? Screaming Bell's not on there as well.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And the
a lot of the Plague stuff
Plague Furnace.
is still not on there.
Oh, I've got to keep those lightning cannons going.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so
That's
Skaven.
vaguely promising.
Yeah, I think they're going to get, still get a lot of new models. I think out of this whole list, Skaven players probably are going to feel the most okay with that happening. I would imagine.
Oh,
If,
yeah,
if I'm going to say, if I had a whole bunch of cash, I would just go and buy a bunch of those now because I bet that people who play Old World are going to be desperate for some of those in about
Yeah,
a year's
very
time.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think with the Skaven being one of the main antagonists of 4th edition for Age of Sigmar, much like the Tyranids are for 10th in 40k, I think they're going to get a lot of attention and a lot of new miniatures.
Yeah, definitely.
But moving
agree.
swiftly on, there's two whole armies that are going to be either relegated from Age of Sigmar to Old World in the case of the Beast of Chaos,
And these,
Um,
to be honest.
and Bone Splitters. They haven't technically said they're going to Old World, but
They're
probably
going to
will.
Old World.
But are disappearing from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, the official line is that they're going, gone, done.
Yeah.
That's it. But it wouldn't surprise me, given the popularity of the Old World, that eventually we might see these. I mean, you could use.
Well, they've got rules. They have
Yeah,
rules.
You could use the boar boys. You could use the orcs. The savage orcs as just orc boys, couldn't you? You can use one of the shaman.
There are rules in the orc boys list for taking boys without any armor and with magic tattoos and frenzy. Right.
So
there's rules for basically taking savage orcs. They'll just
unofficially, you can just fold it in.
True.
They're going to re-release them for the orcs once they've cleared.
I think it was the last battle tome. They folded everything into the one, didn't they? So yeah, it's probably what the plan is, sort of, for them in a way.
I don't think Bone Splitters was that surprising, to be honest.
No, I don't
not.
think
No,
either.
I found them less surprising than Beasts of Chaos.
It's a shame the newer plastic, I think it's a Warcry kit.
It was Underworlds.
Underworlds. It's a shame they haven't kept that. That would have been cool to have one little Savage Orc squad that you could run in.
A lot of the old Underworlds warbands disappear anyway, and they get re-released occasionally with new rules, like when they re-released the most recent version of Underworlds. They released, I think, some classic Underworlds warbands as part of that box set.
Yeah, they did. That's right. Yeah.
But otherwise, there are quite a few of the old Underworlds warbands.
Yeah, because the older Skaven Underworlds warband came back, didn't it?
Yeah.
But again, it's important to mention this was the big one that's been going around on social media, is the newest Beast Lord for Beast of Chaos. It's literally just under 2 years old. I think it was an event exclusive originally.
He will be fine. He'll get repackaged and be back with a square base before you know it.
Oh, Ben's happy with that, that's for sure.
I'm very happy. I've recently bought the Blood Bowl Minotaur character because I absolutely want to use him as a Doom Ball for the old world. So I just kind of was instantly like, yeah, it's great. These will just get repackaged with square bases. I won't have to buy separate square bases for them.
But needless to say, sorry, go on, Mike.
I was just going to say, I see some of these and I think, okay, that's just Dark Oaths. You can run a whole bunch of this as Dark Oath units.
You could.
In a Slave to Darkness
army. But that's why I'm kind of surprised. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm surprised that they haven't said instead we're going to fold some of this into the new Dark Oath or something, rather than completely scrapping all of it. But I get that they've got to get rid of miniatures. This is probably one of the least bought armies, I would imagine, and I'm sure that's gone towards the deciding factor.
I think they're drawing a line as well between this is Old World, this is Age of Sigmar,
of course,
and they don't want to cross the streams.
Yeah, and
by moving these out of the Age of Sigmar, it frees up some space in some respects for the Age of Sigmar budget. We were talking, was it last week? We talked about what we'd like to see added to ranges in the Age of Sigmar and what armies we might want to see added. And taking these out just gives more room within the Age of Sigmar to add new stuff in.
That's exactly what I've just said in the video that I did on Sunday. I put that exact statement in there.
But talking chaos, we do also. This was also quite surprising. I've seen a lot of people online.
No, some of these really did surprise me.
Hashut.
So
Hashut.
Just to describe what we're looking at, Warcry warbands disappearing from sale. I guess you can say these are just disappearing. That again, I'm guessing they'll get Legends rules or whatever. But yeah, they are disappearing.
It's quite shocking. It's quite shocking.
The biggest surprise for me with these is not that they're getting rid of them because there's no room for them in the game, a narrative reason. The thing that surprised me most is these are some amazing sculpts. Some of these warbands are stunning, and it's such a shame that miniatures so nice that have obviously had that research and they've been made and they're designed so beautifully. Really, are going. It's just really surprising.
One thing
Corvus
I will
Cabal
say
is some fantastic looking miniatures.
Warcry players haven't really seen this treatment yet, whereas Underworlds has. Because Underworlds seasons, the warbands do get filtered out, and we've just recently seen them start to bring back some of those old kits with new rules, with the new seasons. I can see that maybe happening in the future with these. They limited time. They bring out maybe 4 of the warbands.
I would hope so, because it'd be such a shame if these disappeared forever, because they really are.
You're right. They are lovely. They are absolutely gorgeous models, a lot of these. And I've seen a lot of people upset purely because they've been planning their Slaves to Darkness armies to be themed around a mercenary mix of these Warcry warbands, Slaves to Darkness models, which I can completely see.
I genuinely feel like I made the right decision to clear all of my Untamed Beasts and Spire Tyrants and stuff off of round bases onto squares for the old world, because to be honest, if I hadn't and then this happened, I would have just been looking at it going, well, stuff it. I've wasted my time.
Absolutely.
I'm really glad now that I did that. But it is, again, it's a shame because they are such lovely sculpts. And also they're really cool kind of core of Warcry. I know Warcry's moved on from the days of it all being battles around the Varan Spire, but they were kind of the beginning storyline, and it seems a shame that that's now gone.
Yeah, it is sad with that one, I think. There are just a few other random models at the bottom there that are disappearing as well. Some of these, the big boss on the gigantic spider, it seems a bit out of place to me.
I wonder what you was going to say then. But yeah,
Well,
I totally agree. That was a surprising one as well.
Purely because if you're keeping the kind of the spider, what are they called? I can't remember what the actual name for the Spider Rider faction is now.
they're part of the Gloomspite Gits, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I can't remember what the actual sub-faction's called, but the obviously that's one of the main.
You mean the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, don't you? But whatever the Age of Sigmar name for it is,
It's weird because I feel like some of the normal Spider Riders, those I was expecting to go because they're such old little.
They are, aren't they?
They're not the most beautifully sculpted kits.
No.
So it's an odd one that they get rid of one Spider Rider, but still keep the rest.
Yeah, it seems odd.
Again, they're going to go and join the Ravening Hordes. They're going to go and join. I think the big boss and gigantic spider is absolutely in the Orc and Goblin list.
The other ones, though, not particularly surprised.
Well, the Branch Wraith's going to go to the Wood Elves.
Yeah.
And where she started.
The
Eternity Warden's a sad one, but isn't that quite an old model? I think that was originally a special character.
A lot of these are.
And Valkyr was a special character. The Mistweaver Sigh does kind of signify that they've just given up on that. That was an idea they had when Age of Sigmar was starting, and they didn't have Lumineth yet. And they're like, we'll have a vague kind of light elf, and we'll have a Tenebral Shard dark elf, and there'll be new imaginings. And then they've now kind of gone, no, okay, we've given up on that. Those are no longer happening. Lumineth have happened since then.
Definitely. But yeah, that pretty much is finishes up what sort of leaving the range. I have seen there's been people have found out as well. I haven't got it on here. I haven't got a list down of what's actually disappeared. There are actually some 40k models that sort of shadow disappeared as well that weren't brought up in an article.
Really?
Yeah, some of the demon models I saw, some of the hero demon models, like the
a few things went last chance to buy, didn't they? Just on the quiet, both for Sigmar and 40k.
They just quietly kind of some 40k bits, not just stuff that you'd expect either. There's a few random bits that they kind of just bye. So do keep an eye out for the lists on those. Just to keep an eye on. If you
does that mean the blue scribes are going?
Yes, the blue scribes.
No, not the blue scribes.
Yeah, they were one of
the.
I think cool. There were two Zinch models. I should have written down a list really, but a lot. Some of it wasn't that surprising, but there were a few in there like that.
You've got to keep track of all those
the blue scribes are so cool.
They're going.
Yeah, but it also did make me think with a lot of the demon stuff. Maybe next Demon Codex we might get a bit of a refresh with some new models there. So especially some hero models. So we'll wait and see. But yes, that concludes that section. We do have sort of a second topic, especially with Mike on this week's episode. We've said that we wanted to kind of bring up this topic on one of the episodes anyway, and thought it'd be perfect for this week, which is to talk more of the competitive side of the hobby. I know that me, Sai, and I'd probably say you, Ben, as well, more narrative based, yeah. But
mostly,
yeah. But I mean, I've certainly had my experience with competitive play in the past as well. And I know, Mike, you said you wanted to bring up how, obviously, with the current state of Age of Sigmar competitive play compared to 40k, you've definitely got your experience in the 40k setting and competitive play arena, I guess you could say. You sort of wanted to compare that to the AOS arena and how they could maybe take almost like some tips from there to kind of improve the player count and whatnot for the AOS side of things.
Well, it's interesting you say that actually, because I thought the Age of Sigmar event was better than most 40k events I've been to.
Really? Okay.
And I actually think there's a lot that 40k could learn from Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
I think Sigmar, the team that writes the rules, have such an excellent way of making things easier for the player base and tracking all of the changes that they make to the game. So obviously 40k veteran myself, and I went to my first Sigmar event recently, repping the Iron Jaws, because I do love me some big bulky yellow orcs. And I had an absolute blast. And the the atmosphere was so much more. This is crazy. Anything could happen, which it kind of is with Sigmar anyway, right? Because you got things like the double turn, which is a huge. What's the word? Taboo for 40k players. It absolutely puts them off the system. But I think one of the things I really like about Sigmar is how creative the rule set is, and there's such a huge amount that 40k could learn from that. So if you're a Sigmar player, look, you've got it good. Like you've got army rules that reflect your faction. Like I played Gloomspite Gits twice, and their moon moving over the battlefield. Like there's nothing like that in 40k. Nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's amazing, and then you've also got things like the missions. Something as simple as that, just missions that are very interesting and different. But in 40k, unfortunately, it's a little bit stale. It's kind of the same thing, but there's some cards involved now. So that's what I've really liked about Sigmar. I really hope that 40k can draw some of that on there, and we'll see, because obviously Sigmar's been hugely successful, and is still, I think, despite what some people worried about, still standing strong with the release of Old World. So yeah, exciting to see where it goes, and everything I've heard so far is amazing. I just wish we'd see a little bit more inspiration from the 40k competitive scene, from what we've got in Sigmar.
Okay, so it's more the other way around then, in your opinion.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah.
Would you say that's only since 10th then, or is this kind of like in general anyway? Just since you've gone to the Sigmar event.
To be honest, I never really tried Sigmar when I was playing 9th edition 40k, so I wouldn't know. Yeah, but since playing 10th, we've only ever had for 10th we've only had one set of missions out, so there is the scope to make things more interesting. And I really hope that they take that opportunity to do so. And, Sigmar is blazing the path, and hopefully we'll show them how it's done. But even something as simple as, like what I mentioned earlier, Legends units getting balance updates. Like, imagine what that can do for your player base. There's a huge number of players, like competitive players, not the majority, which I think a lot of competitive players forget. When they complain about this stuff and all that.
I probably have to add, like, I know what you mean by that, but I believe, and this is just my small amount of knowledge I have on it, that the Sigmar Legends stuff you still won't be able to use in competitive play though, to my knowledge. It's just going to be, I think they've said that middle of next summer is the kind of deadline for that, for when you can use a lot of the Legends stuff that well, at least this stuff that they've just relegated to it. But I do get what you mean, though, by updating the old Age of Sigmar stuff in Legends. Still allows you to play that easier in competitive games, maybe on your own time, for sure, and helps balance it out. So I think that would be pretty cool, like you say, to see that in 40k as well. Yeah,
and a year into 4th of Sigmar, the balanced state of Legends units should be at a point where a tournament can just decide you can use Legends units, because actually they're pretty balanced right now. There hasn't been any major changes recently. So who knows? We'll see. Yeah, it's up to tournaments to let Legends play anyway, really, isn't it?
Definitely.
I mean, I know that the old world scene, although the tournament scene is very beginning on that, they've absolutely embraced the idea of letting like the legacy armies in. They've kind of, although Games Workshop have said this won't be at our official events, the rest of the tournament scene have turned around and gone, heck no, we're having them in. Everybody can play. And I certainly think that I would embrace the same approach with any events that I run. Like, I mean, the previous narrative event, I tend to run more narrative than organized play events, but narrative events, I've always kind of gone, it doesn't matter if it's Legends, if it's Imperial Armor, if it's, something you've scribbled on the back of a napkin. I'm sure we can work something out as long as it's cool and everybody has fun.
Definitely. So all I was going to do leading out of that, really, considering that we are here to kind of talking a little bit about competitive play and coming into 4th edition, more people might be considering, after joining 4th edition, taking up competitive play, going to tournaments with their new Age of Sigmar armies, going to events and things at Warhammer World or wherever it might be in the US, etc. And since we have here Mike here as well, I was wondering if Mike, you had any tips for maybe newcomers going into competitive play, to kind of ease their way into it, if you like, and help them along their way. So I don't know if you wanted to start us off with anything sort of on your mind, and we can sort of add to that maybe.
Yeah, one of the first things I tend to say is try not to think of it as competitive play. Like, I feel like the word competitive has a lot of negative connotations for people that are outside of the tournament scene. They think that I feel like there's an image of like sporting cutthroat events. And it's not really like that. I myself tend to see tournaments as like an excuse to play 5 games over the weekend.
Yeah.
That in any other situation you couldn't really justify to the other people in your life. You can say, "Oh, I'm doing a tournament, so I've kind of got to play these 5 games. So I guess I'll see you Sunday evening." Whereas if you said, "I'm going to go and play 5 games of Warhammer round the corner," it's can't really get away with that.
No.
So in terms of competitive play, I think first of all, ditch the illusion that it's some kind of cutthroat system where everybody's trying to win, and obviously get going is really the first step. Is book that event, and obviously start small, start local. See if your local shop has some kind of event going on, 1,000 points, 1,500, it doesn't really matter. It's really just get into the game. And I think one of the biggest bonuses of playing tournaments is actually, of course, people. I mean, that's why we're all here. But you will end up meeting someone that you will then see maybe 6 months, a year down the line at another tournament, and it'll be like it was yesterday that you last played.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're like, "Yeah, how you doing? Oh, I remember you were playing, I don't know, Iron Jaws at that one event. How's that? How's that going? I thought that was your first event. You're still playing. That's awesome." That kind of thing.
It's definitely one of the best ways of socializing in the game.
Yeah,
for sure. Is going to tournaments because you meet so many people. I agree on that one.
And you can all go for dinner at the end of the day, which I definitely recommend. Yeah,
for sure. So I suppose just to add to that, then I would agree. For me, if I go to events or even competitive in the past, it has been to socialise, and also obviously if you're only within your local club scene, you only play against so many factions and armies. And I find obviously if you can get yourself to an event, and like Mike says, for sure, the number one thing I would agree with on that is don't think of it as competitive. Go to the event thinking, I'm going to get a ton. I'm going to get, like you say, 5 more games in. Hopefully, play 5 different factions that you've never played before. Because trust me, you go to these events, especially if you choose out like the narrative events. For sure, you go to the Warhammer World ones, you get such a big variety of factions. Whether you're playing 40k or AOS, and you'll be able to come away having said, I've met some new people and I've played a ton of new armies and got that cool experience from it. And also, I would say, just when you're going into it, don't worry so much. Like if for example, on your first 1 or 2 games, you come up against somebody who has, and like Mike says, the competitive word, but has that more competitive edge and wants to puts down a really harsh list against you. Let that person know straight away. I'm here to have a fun, more, I guess you could say, narrative experience, but I've just brought these models for fun. Maybe say that it's your first time or first few times having gone. Likelihood is your opposition, even if they've come to try and beat you in that game, will still not take it easier on you, but have a better understanding of how to handle things with you. And that's all. I'd probably give that tip as well, because I've had...
That's good advice.
Yeah. So that would be my one big tip, to be honest. But Ben, I know you've said you're not massive on it. But for you,
but
if you were
having
going...
said that, both what Mike has said and what you've said are both, I think, quite, good sets of advice. Really, like Mike said, try and get that out of your head that it's a really competitive scene. Get rid of that word in your head, competitive, and just go and have fun. I think that's great advice, and something I should probably listen to as well, because I've always been put off the really what look like serious tournaments, but they're probably, like you say, they're probably not. They're probably just people having fun. And occasionally you're going to get that person who's thumbing through the rule book saying, I think you'll find that this, you're going to get that anywhere, aren't you? You're going to get that no matter where you play, even if it's in your local store. And again, like you said as well, just say to your opponent, I'm just here to have a laugh. I've built this list because it's cool. And I've got this unit and this weapon because it's cool, not because I want to smash you or bring a cheesy list. And I think that's probably good to say to your opponent, I'm here to have fun. You do what you want to do. But like you say, I think 9 times out of 10, that person on the other end is going to reciprocate and say, all right, fair enough. And
Yeah,
they might change the way they play based on that. And then you both end up having a good laugh. And as you both mentioned as well,
that is the case. So it's,
and as you both mentioned as well, you're going to end up meeting people as well that you then end up playing again with, or, you know, you make new friends. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? Rolling dice and having fun.
Certainly
so, yeah, I should probably get more into it. And like I said, with Age of Sigmar 4th edition, I'm definitely going to try and do that.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have to go to one together, Si, or something. Me, you, and Ben, and maybe maybe Mike.
Oh, I'm in.
Age of Sigmar, yeah. There you go.
Let's get it done.
Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, so my thoughts are I'm online a lot. I'm on hobby Twitter quite a bit, and there is what I would call a small but vocal minority that are what I refer to as brohammer, which is treating Warhammer like it's an esport. Lots of chest thumping and list hammer and desperately number crunching. The guy who instantly, the moment the old world came out, worked out that he could take a list composed almost entirely of gyrocopters.
Gyrocopters, I remember.
Seriously, fine if that's how you want to play, but I guarantee you will not have as much fun as I do if I rock up with my ludicrously silly list that I have had tons of fun thinking up stuff about. Some of the stuff that I have found, I've been to a few different tournaments and I've had some mixed experiences. The first one I went to actually was at Warhammer World, was a doubles tournament with a mutual acquaintance of mine and Mike's, Rob Clayton. Rob and I went with the express purpose of trying to take the minimum number of models that we could fit in lists. Like, we wanted to have it below 20 across both our armies.
Wow.
Not necessarily taking into account what was effective. I think I had like 5 stormtroopers, 4 assassins, an Imperial Knight, and an Inquisitor. And I think Rob had like a Grey Knight Land Raider, 2 Dread Knights, and some Terminators. It was ridiculous. But we went in with the express admitted purpose at the start of every game to our opponents of, we have come to have a laugh and we are trying to lose. We're not going to throw the game. We're going to play. Well, no, we went, it was for a mate's like 40th. And we went, we went up there, we were all wearing shirts that said Monk Fest on the front, and then our names on the front, because Monk's a huge, his YouTube channel is Googly Eyed Skull. I'll quite throw that in there. Because he is a huge Alpha Legion fan, all of us had Alfarius on the back of our shirt. And when we asked to sign in by the staff, all of us gave our name as Alfarius. So over the course of the weekend, we were all just there as Alfarius and then a number because they wanted to try and keep track of us. But we said to our opponents, look, we are not going to throw our game. This is not what we're here for. We're not here to deliberately lose, but we have brought a list which we know is not competitive because we fully expect that we will lose and we want to have fun doing it. So let's have a chuckle. And we had some amazing games as a result of that, as a result of going in and not wanting to do anything more than play some fun games of Warhammer. Like, I ended up playing against a Night Lord's army where his Chaos Lord was the Forge World Comrade Kurz model. So instantly, the moment we deployed, everybody, all 4 of us were like, okay, no, the thing we are most invested in for this game is, can the Cowardice Assassin take out Comrade Kurz? That is all any of us cared about at that point. I think they were doing quite well over the course of the weekend.
Fulfill the prophecy.
Threw that out the window to play some fun.
Yeah.
And actually, the guys who won were some more of the Alfarius crew, a couple of the Hate Boys, Toby and Sasha, who they won the entire weekend by the simple principle of being amazing opponents who everybody said they were their favorite people to play. They'd turn up with these gorgeous armies, with beautiful, crazy conversions. They were amazing kind of sportsmen about, everything that happened. So everybody turned around and said, okay, we lost against you, but you were absolutely the best game we played this weekend. And they swept the whole tournament. Let me just mention one of the best games that I've ever played was against Arbiter Ian from his channel. He turned up to one of my events with his Arbites army, which is why obviously he has the name Arbiter Ian. He has an entire army converted using the Adeptus Arbites models. But he had printed arrest records for each opponent. So he printed them out like blank, and then he would fill them out and hand it to you at the start of the game.
That's
and it was his army list, but it was also what your army was being arrested for. And that level of kind of attention to making sure that everybody is having fun is, I think, what makes a tournament better for everybody. And I've certainly, like I said, I've played a few different tournaments now at Warhammer World, and I've never gone there with the intention of winning. I've always gone with the intention of just having fun. And if you go there with that mentality, you will have the best time.
I think after taking all of our kind of thoughts on it, the main thing that we've definitely come out with from that is, if you go into it with a certain mindset, that will rub off onto your opponents. and you'll have a better time at the end of the day, I think. So that's kind of good that we've all sort of come to that kind of conclusion.
If the thing that is most important to you is making sure that your man Barbies are better than everybody else's man Barbies, then I feel very, very sorry for you. Because let's be honest, it's a game of toy soldiers. It's not like it's the Olympics.
Yeah. I've said it many times online when people are arguing over something completely silly, and the amount of times I've posted, it's just plastic spacemen.
Yeah.
Yes,
it is. At the end of the day, there are bigger things in life to get upset about or worry about.
It's one of those. Have you anyone ever read Terry Pratchett's Going Postal?
No.
A long time ago.
Well worth a reread. It's one of his better books. But there's an analog there to before the creation of stamps. So therefore, before stamp collecting, they have pin collecting. And there's a person at one point they are these stereotypical gamer nerds. I mean, they're all there talking about, oh, I've got a limited edition such and such pin. Oh, this one was minted on this date. And then somebody in the pin shop suddenly just kind of starts giggling maniacally, yells, "They're just pins!" and throws them in the air and runs out because he's suddenly realized what he's been wasting his life on. And if your whole life is just about whether or not you are better at playing toy soldiers than other people, you are missing the point of life.
Cool.
So there we go.
It's an interesting one, right? Because everybody's in the hobby for a different reason, and I think when you do go to the tournament, if you do face someone with that attitude, just accept that that's what the game is for them, and that's what they want out of the event.
I was going to say that as well. That is true.
So try not to hold it against them necessarily.
No, that's true.
And obviously, they will do their best to ensure you have a good time, or else they're not really playing the right way.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think if you are that kind of person that does want to win the events and you want to try as hard as you can, run the competitive lists, then just keep maintaining that respect for people. And accept,
definitely.
look, if they're there to have fun with that list, then you can still win and it can still be fun for them. That's fine. You just don't need to go and argue about it. And hard line on this, I completely agree. There's no argument worth having at the tabletop ever.
No, I agree.
So, that absolutely.
One thing I found actually at an event, when I did play against somebody who really was kind of ultra competitive, I used it as an opportunity to learn. Like, I would always kind of ask, I'll have a bit of a chat across the tabletop and ask, that's really cool. What are your thoughts on this? Or, okay, I've done that. That really didn't work well for me. What would you have done? Because if they are genuinely just better at tactics and stuff, use it as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, I did that. I played in a Star Wars Shatterpoint tournament last year. It was only like a casual thing at a shop in Leeds. And then one guy I played, he was very, very competitive. And I could tell he was straight away out to win. And I was using Cody and the clones and Anakin and Rex and the clones, and I was just going after his battle droids because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and smash some clankers because I was just having a bit of fun, and he was using every trick in the book and this, that, and the other, and he battered me. And at the end, I said, what could I have done better there? And he wasn't really for it. And then the next person I played after that, he was stopping me from doing things which you probably shouldn't do in a tournament. He's like, no, don't do that. It won't work as well, and do this. And he's showing me the cards and explaining the different abilities. I know we're a bit off track here, but he really did help me learn. And I had the best game ever. And I learned loads in that one hour game than I did all day just from that guy, because he wanted me to have fun, even though he was probably going to beat me anyway. And he did beat me, but he really did help me have a great time. So yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there.
So thanks for that, guys. Community questions this week kind of depended on time, really, as it always does. So we will come back to that next week. So don't worry, guys, if you've sent yours in.
It's a cracker. We'll just to wait till next time.
Yeah. We've got a few to choose from. Just the one we picked for this week specifically. Don't worry, we'll get back to it next week. Hopefully next time you're on, Mike, we'll get your answers to some of the community questions as well.
Blame Games Workshop for getting rid of 82 kits.
That's true, actually. If you didn't have another reason to get angry at them already, there's another one. Community questions on Morehammer. Get it going. Get the hashtags going. But yeah, we will move swiftly on, I suppose, to end of the show. Warhammer 20 questions. Mike, to explain to you and anybody new to the podcast who doesn't know how it works, yourself, Ben and Sai, at least on this week's episode, will have to try and guess the unit or character that I or one of our viewers has sent in the suggestion this week that are thinking of. You've got 19 questions to find out who it is. and the 20th has to be your guess, or between the three of you. So between the three of you guys, you can ask me yes or no questions, and you basically try and work out who it is on this week's episode. So
I demand a recount on last week's.
oh yes, okay.
I agree.
All right, so on last week's episode, guys, we obviously had a very hard one put in by, wasn't it Charax? Ben,
it was,
it?
yes.
He sent in, I forget the name of him. It's the Inquisitorial servant, wasn't it? The
only way it could have been harder was if it was, what was the serial number of the bolter shell fired by Ragnar Blackmane in the Battle of XYZ?
So that being said, as Si's just led on there, saying that it couldn't have been harder, the guys still want to make out that there's a couple of things I got slightly wrong last week that they think would have helped.
Like
us
it
get the
did
answer.
actually have a model when you said
He
it
did
did
have he did have a model that you could convert pieces from a normal not
was in
servitor,
White
what they
Dwarf as
called I forget what the models are called now.
Demand a recount.
Yeah. But he had like a conversion kit released years ago that you could actually convert into that specific model. So technically, yes, there was a model. If you guys think that would have helped. And I think one of the things you asked was he in a White Dwarf? And apparently he did appear in White Dwarf.
He did.
Yeah.
You said no.
So
See,
what I
Ben,
want you guys to do is, if
correct,
you think
Ben.
they should be
Everything
let
we've been
off,
told about the Inquisition
Is a lie.
it's a lie. But yeah, guys, in the comments, if you think that last week's is worthy now of you think that they should be let off for that one. I don't personally think so. I don't think it would have helped them in the slightest. They were nowhere near.
More justice.
More justice.
Teams, yeah. Hashtag Team Ben and Si.
But yeah. I'm just going to have to bring another really hard one back now just to definitely make sure that you get beat and then there's no complaining. But anyway, let's move swiftly on to this week's. You guys can let us know in the comments what you think about last week's. But who would like to start? Let the questioning begin.
I think our guest should have the honour of going first.
Usual rules. The guest.
Have you seen this before then, Mike?
I have not.
We usually kick off with something like, do you reside in the 41st millennium?
Try
or do
and
you
narrow
reside in
down the
world that
game
was?
system.
And then try and narrow it down.
Right. So it could be
Yeah.
any game system. Is it?
Yeah, any game
Yeah,
system.
sorry, should have said that. So any
Workshop.
unit or character within Warhammer.
We've had a Blood Bowl
Okay.
star player before.
They don't have to have a model. It can literally be.
Oh, literally anything.
Yeah.
Are they in a boxed game that Games Workshop do?
Do or have done.
I mean, have ever done?
Oh, I don't believe so. I'm guessing you're saying in terms of model.
In terms of model, yes.
As I thought, there's never been an official model. So if you want to count your first question as that, Mike, is that fair?
Yeah.
Are they in the 41st millennium?
Yes.
Do they wear power armor?
No. That's 3.
Are they human?
Yes. That's 4.
Have they ever appeared in a Black Library novel?
Oh yes. Yeah. That's 5.
Are they a part of the Astra Militarum?
No.
Are they the main character in a Black Library novel?
Good question.
Yeah, I would say probably so. Definitely have been a main character in a Black Library novel. Yeah.
Okay. Not guard, human, main character of a Black Library novel.
Don't wear power armor.
Don't wear power armor. We got the answer that they're not in the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the
Very,
guard.
very rapidly narrows it down.
Is
Is it my go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they an Inquisitor?
No.
Okay.
Do they reside on Necromunda?
No. That's 8.
Ah, it was a good hunch. It was a very good hunch.
Do they appear in more than one Heresy series? Not Heresy,
Yes.
sorry, Heresy series, but Black Library series.
Yes.
Okay. Human, not guard, no power armor, more than one series of Black Library novels.
And they're the main character in at least one of those series.
Main character in at least one.
Or a book.
So it's not John Grammaticus then, or anyone like
No.
that. He's the main character, is he?
No, and I also we said 41st millennium, and we don't know whether he's in the 41st millennium or not.
I think
Because
you
he was
did ask, though.
31st.
That was your second question.
No, I think we know he's 41st millennium, so we know he's active in the 41st millennium, not the 31st millennium.
But then after Mike... Mike, was your specific question just then... Was that Horus Heresy series, or...
No, it was just...
No, he meant
is he
Black
in
Library
more
novels.
than one series of...
Sorry,
Black
that
Library
was just what you
novels,
added,
so,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay, well, that does hint I should probably ask, were they around during the Horus Heresy?
Yes.
Aha!
That's 10.
Okay.
Would they be considered a leader amongst their peers or squad mates or whatever?
Yeah. For this,
Which means it can't be like Belisarius Call, who's in both the time eras, because he does have a model. Most of the remembrances are dead by the 41st millennium, so it's looking like it's going to have to be a perpetual or something like that.
Yeah, on question 13, I believe.
Would Mechanicum people be, like the Mechanicus, would they be considered human though, just augmented? Could we ask about augmentation and stuff?
We've been saying we should probably find out if it is actually male.
That's a
Because
good point.
there are female
Yes.
characters.
What?
Are they male?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
that's 13.
Right, so male, human, don't wear power armor, not part of the guard, not an inquisitor, several Black Library novels. They've been the main character in one, is that correct?
In at
Yeah.
least one. Yeah.
They'll have been the main character in at least
don't
one.
reside
and
on
trust me when I say they've
Necromunda.
appeared in... They will have appeared in, whether it's guest character or whatever, in
do-
many Black Library novels.
Yeah.
In many Black Library novels.
Many.
Well, you said series as well, so think about it that way. Like,
Yeah.
he will have appeared in a lot.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
It is, actually.
It's a tricky one.
What other human factions are there that would have a Black Library series?
So it's not an Inquisitor.
It's not an Inquisitor. That's what I say, because the Inquisition didn't exist in the
So Mike's
31st
question
millennium.
as well, so was, have they appeared in more, so like multiple series, not is it their series? Like, have they
Right, so
had
as in,
multiple
like, could they have
series?
appeared in the Dawn of Fire series? Could
Yeah.
they appeared in the...
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay.
But they
think of
have
it
been the
as,
main
like-
character in a book.
Yeah, so just think of it as he's definitely probably been the main character in novels, and he's been in many novels, Black Library novels in general.
Wow. Okay, I have an idea.
Probably work out if they're loyalist or
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good shout.
or
That's
not.
Go on, Mike, ask it if you want. This is question 14, I think.
good. Would they be considered loyal to the Emperor or not?
Yeah.
I think I know who it is.
Oh, so do I. Actually, I think he's just given it away.
I think he has.
That was such a perfect question to ask, 'cause it's like, how the hell?
I had a suspicion.
Yeah.
You are circling it though anyway. So
If we think, okay, we need to ask at least one question to confirm it, and then we can go to asking silly questions, which is our usual.
Well, Mike.
Are they a psyker?
they're definitely a psyker.
Come on, Ben. Tee it up.
Does he love gold?
He does. He does, yeah. I think that's 16.
Your turn, Si.
You got maybe 2 or 3
Silly
to get
questions.
so,
I don't know
smooth
the
the
about
edges
giant
here.
golden. He's already beat me with the gold thing. Does he have quite a weathered appearance?
Nowadays, yes.
Do they exercise a lot?
If I'm answering yes, no, not nowadays.
Would they ever win awards for Father of the Year?
Probably not. No.
How many
Maybe at one
questions
point.
is that 18?
I think that's pretty much it, lads. To be honest, I think.
Do you want to
that's,
make the
that's
guess,
19.
Si?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need the guess now.
Would you, by any chance, happen to be the Emperor of Mankind?
I would indeed. Yeah.
Hey!
I knew that one would be a funny one as well because I was waiting for somebody. And sorry, I hadn't said at the beginning. Thanks to Graham who sent that one in. He actually sent he sent in 3 suggestions from Discord, and he actually said, we haven't tried the Emperor yet, to see how that goes. And I knew for a fact that you'd have to circle around it for a while, because there's no way you'd really think it would be the Emperor.
As soon as you gave the answer to, is he loyal to the Emperor?
Yeah.
Your face gave it away.
Well, there's no way I could hold that back. The way you asked that question, it's like, how the hell do you answer that? But yeah.
You just say yes.
Well, yeah, but
if someone
it just made me laugh. There's no way I can hold that in.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yes.
It didn't help with me shouting, does he have a giant golden chair as well?
You were definitely circling it because Ben was saying about perpetuals, so I knew you were on for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Well done, Graham. Good question.
Mike, how would you know Emperor on your first episode?
Yeah,
so,
imagine that. I did not expect that.
Okay, well, thanks for sending that one in, Graham, and I'll have your other 2 suggestions on at some point down the line, I'm sure. But please do, guys, if you're watching, listening, send in to me, wargamingluke@gmail.com, or message me on Discord, the socials, whatever, with your suggestions for Warhammer 20 questions. We've had a few good ones in now, and I'm creating a bit of a list, so we can bring one up each week. So do add to that list for me. Send in your suggestion. Any character or unit from the Warhammer universe. I'd love to know which one you're going to send in, and we have to beat Ben and Si as well, especially after last week. It was supposedly overruled in their opinion, so we have to bring something else up. But another win for you guys this week to close out.
Undefeated.
To close out, Simon and Ben, where can we find you guys? Ben, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I am over on 90% Geek over on my own YouTube channel. Please come on over and subscribe there. I'm trying to get my subscriber numbers up. Last video I published last week, I said that once I hit 4,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away an Imperial Space Marine, one of the classic lead metal miniatures that I found during my recent battles with the Skaven.
That was such a funny video, mate.
That was a great video.
Yeah.
Over to you, Si.
Yeah, go and subscribe to Ben's channel because it's great. You can find me on YouTube as well at Hobby Waffle. I've got the same username on Twitter and on Instagram as well. I've just done a video going over all the kits that's leaving the Age of Sigmar range, but rather than just be all doom and gloom about it, which probably would get more clicks and more views, I've tried to be a bit positive and ask the question, if stuff's going out the way, if there's 2 factions going, what 2 factions could be coming in? One of them I suggested Chaos Dwarfs, but the other one I put to the floor and said, comment and let us know what you think. So please do go and watch that video and leave a comment and let me know what you think could be coming to Age of Sigmar, because I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Maybe Dark Elves or some type of Shadow Elf or Evil Elf. Don't know.
I'm heading over there to comment right after this.
I know what you're going to say. Did they live in the woods?
No, actually, I've got something different I'm going to say. I'm going to go.
Oh, excellent. Okay. But yeah, cool. That's where you can find me.
Yep, definitely go and check it out, guys. Both of them do great videos every week, so do go check out the individual channels here as well. But Mike, dude, it was great. Almost a catch up for us as well, really. So good to see you again, mate, and have a bit of a chat about the hobby as well. Really, it was a pleasure to have you on. But obviously, you are over with the Vanguard Tactics guys, and you do run obviously. What's the actual official thing for it, Mike? Let people know what you do over there.
So we're all about keeping you playing 40k, but as other game systems as well, they're huge for that hobby, that creative part of our lives when we get caught up in the professional and other obligations. And we're all about championing sportsmanship and fair play at the tabletop as well, and making sure that you feel like you're getting the most out of your hobby. So yes, Vanguard Tactics on YouTube. My personal Instagram is VT_Mike_. But yeah, check us out. Maybe it'll encourage you to go to some tournaments and stuff like we talked about. But yes, check these other guys out as well, because they're, the passion for the hobby is really there.
Awesome. Thank you, dude. And yeah, do go and check out Vanguard Tactics, guys, if you're a beginner, because it honestly is perfect if you're coming in from that sort of route. And certainly I'll make a short video from what we discussed today anyway. So really do go and check them out. But myself, Wargaming Luke, on all the socials. Very simple. Otherwise, I'll be here. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for everybody who's been on this week. But happy Wargaming. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.